you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to Hammercast.
All right, well, welcome to the Double D's podcast, which is part of the Hammercast Network. I am your host, Kevin Coleman, and on this episode of the podcast, we have special guest Michael Reedy, who is a contributor for the Undroppables.com and the member of the Fantasy Sports Writer Association. You know, Michael's someone that I've grown to respect tremendously this past year that I've been around here and doing the fantasy stuff. He's one of the best minds in the industry, so I'm really happy to have him on. Michael, thanks for coming on, and tell our listeners kind of where they can find you and what work you've been doing recently.
So you can find me on Twitter at Mike Reedy FF. Over at the Undroppables, I've been laying low since the season ended. By the way, I've just had some polls and some things going on. We do have a rookie guide coming, and I'll be hosting part of a draft-a-thon we'll be doing as well over the draft weekend. So you can find me over there. What I'm really known for is the Moneymakers and Heartbreakers, where I touch a lot of DFS stuff and weekly fantasy sit-start type things. I'm flattered you called me one of the best minds in the business. From you, I'll take that as a huge, huge compliment. I think I was blushing a little.
Hey, don't let him be humble out there. He is very good at what he does. He stays under the radar for the most part, but he is very good at what he does.
So, yeah.
So we're here today on this episode, and I've made this on purpose. We're going to go a little later, and we're going to be talking about NFL free agency recap. So we're going to be going through different players in various free agent deals and discuss their fantasy implications to everything and say, okay, how does this work for this team, their new team, their old team, everything in between. So if you have questions, you know, if you're following live, definitely ask. The first question I have for you, and what are your overall thoughts on the free agency as a whole? So when we're looking at what happened, you know, I personally, I felt like it was a little lackluster, a little uneventful, but what were your overall thoughts of it?
So I found it a little uneventful, but I'm a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Boston guy. So I was very happy with what they did, for instance, in free agency. Like, I really liked what they did. They filled a lot of holes on the team, which they needed to do.
Yeah.
I liked the Buccaneers signing all their guys back to make another run. Where I was disappointed in, I've been disappointed in the Chiefs. I put something out there on Twitter about that, how nobody seems to want to go there, and I'm wondering why.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was kind of disappointing to me that they couldn't grab one of those top-notch receivers that were out there to help them out, or even the second-tier guys, you know?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Juju, but I was really surprised he had an offer there and he didn't go. If I'm a receiver, my slow ass, I'm going to the Chiefs, right? Like, that would be the number one spot for me.
Well, and you think he's a great fit there too, right? Like, I would think he's a great fit there. And I tweeted about this quite a bit, and the Chiefs fans and the Juju fans do not like that I called out that Juju decided not to go there, and that probably labels the Chiefs as not a destination. You know, I also think Pittsburgh thinks they have a shot at making a run at a championship this year as well, and that's why he stayed. But, you know, it's I think it was a personal choice for him more than anything else, because he had more money on the table in KC.
You know, when we talk about Juju, it's just one of those things. It's like, come on, Juju. Like, I love Juju, so we'll get to him in a minute. But I really felt like a good mid there. The Packers not making a move kind of surprised me. That shouldn't surprise me. At this point, the Packers not getting a wide receiver, I'm done. Till they actually get one.
That didn't surprise me. I was not surprised.
I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. They frustrate me so much. I just, you know, I really want them to draft a receiver. They're not going to do it. They don't even care. They don't even care about my fantasy team, and they don't care about anything that I have to say with the Packers.
No, they don't care at all. They need to fix their defense some if they want to make a run. Their offense is pretty good as is.
That's fair. And I think that's the thing about free agency. I guess it's uneventful for fantasy managers. I don't know if it was uneventful for building a roster and building a championship team, bringing back your guys. So I'm kind of the mindset of fantasy only. I got a little weird like that. But there was some fantasy moves. So
we have a couple of guys who I love what happened in free agency for.
Yeah, so let's talk about Kenny Golladay. So Kenny Golladay here, he was the big fish out there. He signed a 4-year, $72 million deal with the New York Giants. Overall thoughts of him signing that deal. What did you think of Kenny?
So I really like Kenny Golladay. I actually like Danny Jones a lot. I was disappointed last year in the season, but they have no offensive line, right? And if they don't fix that offensive line, I don't care how good Kenny Golladay is and how much I like him. He's not going to be this year's Stephon Diggs like everybody thinks. They need to patch up the holes in that O-line so that Danny Jones has time to get the ball out. They struggled running the ball and passing the ball because the offensive line was so bad last year. I mean, it looked like you and I were playing for them.
Yeah.
I like the signing by New York. What they thought they had was a great group of wide receivers last year, and it didn't work out, and they definitely upped it a bit with Kenny. They fixed that offensive line. I'll really like this. Mm-hmm. For like a dynasty buy sell, I'd probably buy because I'd be looking past this season. It's not like Kenny's old, and Danny Jones is definitely young. So, it's a good situation, and it looks like the Giants are going to do stuff. But for next season, I don't love it all that much.
So you said you like Danny Jones. Do you think he could finish as like a solid QB2 in Superflex formats, especially with this deal?
So he's had flashes in the past, right?
Yeah.
And in 2019, I utilized him quite a bit in fantasy and DFS rosters because he was producing. He looked really good, and I thought he was going to break out last season like fully, and that offensive line really hurt him. He took all the heat for it, but I think he's better than what he showed, so I do really like him, and I think they're headed in the right direction. So, like, I would buy into that offense in Dynasty. With those two guys.
And we can't – I'm a solid Daniel Jones – I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm a solid Daniel Jones guy. Like, I think that he's a solid QB2. I don't think he's going to have the Allen to Diggs connection thing that everybody keeps saying. That's I feel like that's a lazy comp. I don't think we're going to see that kind of the connection. But so in terms of Golladay, then these are recent trades that happened the last 2 weeks. He went for the 106 straight up. Would you do that deal? Or is that a little bit too heavy for – because I feel like Golladay is a solid – receiver 2 option.
I like him, but no, I would not do that deal.
That's a super flex league. So you're talking about Pitts, Chase, those type of guys being around there.
I'd keep that pick there as well. There's no way I'd make that trade.
And then he also went straight up for Michael Thomas.
This one's closer because of the quarterback situation in with the Saints. Thomas didn't look all that usable in fantasy lineups with Taysom Hill at QB. If Winston can beat him out, that changes things because, he'll have 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, but Thomas will be useful. But I guess I could make that trade for Golladay, but I still think Thomas is probably who I'd want to have in the short-term future anyways.
Okay, that's fair. Now I'm going to ask you one more question. It's not going to be a Dante Pettis question, so don't worry. We're not talking about him coming back from the dead. Who would you rather have on this team, Darius Slayton or John Ross? Which guy do you feel like has more upside? Because Slayton, man, I've drafted him and I have him and Kirk on a team, and I am sad right now because there's nothing I can do. He's stuck on my team. But
so the problem with Slayton is Kenny G does the same thing, right? Yeah. And he's better. So I don't know, right? Like, I think Slayton's better than Ross, but I think that could go either way. And it's funny that you mentioned Pettis. I took a lot of heat for a tweet in June of 2020 where I asked if Slayton is the next Dante Pettis on a Sunday morning at like 8 a.m. And like big names in the industry were like, "What the hell are you trying to do? Cause a riot out here?" And I was like, I really didn't think it would get that much traction. It was just a stupid little tweet, right? I didn't think it would get legs, and it did. But with Golladay there, I mean, Slayton's I think he's got a lot of talent. I would want to hold on to him. I actually really like Ross too. I think both of those guys have talent, but I don't like either situation with Golladay there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Ross is a sneaky play, though. And then you talk about DFS. He could be one of those guys that you throw in there that low. I mean, I'm not a DFS guy. I know our guy Detroit Beastie and you are, but I just listen to you guys and steal all your stuff. So that definitely could be there.
If it makes money, that's good. If it makes money, that's
I'm
good.
just going to listen to you guys and make money off of you. The next guy is my guy, Juju. So Juju, 1 year, $8 million for the Steelers. So we kind of mentioned him already. You know, he went there. This is a weird one because I thought he was gone, and I have him on a few rosters, and I like Juju for a dynasty perspective. He's still young. I think he just turned. I think he's 23, 24, just about to turn 24. He's in there.
Talented, yes.
He's talented, right? I think that his value got inflated with Antonio Brown being there, and then it came back to kind of what it was probably should have been at. But overall thoughts on Juju, on that whole team? It's a weird roster, right? It's kind of a weird area.
So we're talking about oversaturated industries, right? They have an oversaturated wide receiver core there, right? So with Deontay, Juju, and Chase, you know, who's going to get the ball all the time? People don't like it when I talk about too many mouths, and I've actually had debates with guys in my own organization in regards to this where they were really angry with me. But there's literally only so many offensive plays in a game.
Yeah.
And like there's a maximum there as well. So therefore, if you own a piece of a wide receiver core where they're spreading the ball around, the guy you want is the quarterback, not the wide receivers. So I would be selling him in Dynasty right now, as of right now, because of the three-headed monster they have at wide receiver, because I think all three of those guys are really good, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, if he's your wide receiver 3, keep him. But if you need him as a wide receiver 2, I'd probably sell. And the quarterback situation there, I mean, how many years does Roethlisberger have left? He looked horrible at the end of last season.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I guess in Dynasty, it depends on what you think of him, because I thought he was going to leave this year. If he does stay, and then let's say he leaves after Roethlisberger leaves, he goes somewhere new, maybe his value would be there. But to put in perspective what you're talking about with those three guys, you know, Juju finishes wide receiver 17. He averaged 14 fantasy points per game in PPR formats. Deontay finishes wide receiver 18, literally right behind him. And then Claypool finishes wide receiver 25. So those three guys, and target-wise, when you look at Juju, he got 128. Claypool got 109.
It didn't feel like Juju had that many last year, though, did it?
I know. No, it didn't. It was very – so when you look at his targets, they really vary. So Tennessee, Cincinnati, the game that Deontay got benched because he couldn't freaking hang on to anything. So some of those targets got a little bit – they varied a little bit.
Yeah, so if all three are playing, that's what I'm judging by, right? But if only two are playing, those two go up in value like a lot. I like his talent, right? So this is a tough one, but I don't know how many years Roethlisberger has left. That's why if you can get value, I'd sell.
Well, I got one for you. Let's see what you think here. So Juju got traded straight up for Cortland Sutton.
Ooh, wow. That's a pretty good trade, I guess. I actually like Sutton.
Yeah.
Again, they have a lot of weapons though there as well, right?
And they had Drew Lock. So whatever you think of Drew Lock.
Yeah, the quarterback situation isn't exactly overwhelmingly wonderful. You know, it's that's interesting. I like both players. I don't like either situation all that much. So, you know, I guess you're really gambling and you have to have a high preference there. I would probably tier them out in just about the same tier. So it's a fair trade. But when I see people do stuff like that and it's two young guys, completely fair trade, I have them in the same tier, I kind of look at that and say, why even bother? You went through this effort for equal value at the same position. How's that help you?
Yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, today I just made a trade and I got accepted. I traded Mark Andrews for Fant and the 201. So I added something to that. So that would be something, maybe you add a second round pick to one of those guys, depending on what each guy feels like, so you can get some type of value back too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anybody, well, not that if you both win the trade, then you will win. But when people do a straight up position player for the same position player trade, I always wonder why. if you view them as equal value, then why even make the trade?
Yeah, that's a kind of a lot of risk there. I mean, other than that, Juju's pretty much going for a late first, early second in Superflex leagues. I don't know.
Fair.
That's fair, right? There's really no overpaying on Juju, but I think you're going to get a fair deal. I think if you're going to sell him, look for your positional needs. Probably wait till the draft to see who's falls, and then maybe try to sell him there and get him there. But overall, I still think he moves on next year. But, you know, I FF Reality Check, he's someone that always chimes in. If Darnold finds his way to Pittsburgh, that could change some things.
Oh,
right?
I think that helps Juju a lot if Darnold ended up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And long term too, right? Yeah. Like you have a really good young quarterback, as long as they didn't break him in the Jets organization, who definitely has talent. I mean, I feel for that guy. He has like the suckiest situation you could be in.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Darnold guy. I wrote like a 10,000 word article on Darnold, so you know how I feel about Darnold. I think if he can get there, I think that we will see that. So I agree. I think I would hold Juju personally, just because I feel like his value is not going to really decrease too much. And even if it kind of does, you can always just blame Big Ben and say, well, Ben, his arm is terrible. He'd had too many targets. There's always ways you can manipulate the narrative, right? We always talk about that.
Watching Roethlisberger play at the end of the season,
it was painful.
It was painful.
It was painful. Next guy that we had here is kind of a darling in the fantasy community is Curtis Samuel. So he signed a 3-year, $34.5 million deal. He got paid, and he went to the Washington football team, which it seems like they're going to keep that name forever. So when you look at Curtis, they also got Ryan Fitzpatrick there. They may move up, maybe not. They got McLaurin there. They got Logan Thomas. They got all these guys, Gibson, all these guys. What do you think of Curtis Samuel? Is he worth what he's going for right now?
So I love him, and from a talent perspective, I really love him. I was pumping him up prior to most people in the community. I mean, the Undroppable guys who do the unscripted pod were all over him as well. Term, Paulie, and Beasy. We all got on him at the same time, and that was when who the heck did they cut? The Panthers cut a guy who was ahead of Samuel in the pecking order, and Samuels was already on an uptick in target share at that point during the season. And once they got rid of that player, can't remember his name. That's how relevant he was.
I'm trying to think for you right now, but I can't remember.
And Samuel took off, and they started using him both in the running game and the passing game a lot more. He was somebody I think I had on almost every team I had that year, and I was excited about it. I'm excited about this move for him as well. I really love what the WTF team did,
Yeah.
I like Fitzpatrick, and I had a bunch of people picking on me for calling out how I love that move on Twitter, telling me I was a sheep. And I was like, no, for fantasy purposes, I've loved this guy for the last 3 seasons. He averages over 20 points a game, right? I know he in real football, he can throw the game away as well, just as easily. But in fantasy, like, this is nice. Yeah. They have a lot of weapons now in that offense. I'm buying. I wouldn't overpay because how they utilize him, we don't know yet. But if they use him the way he was being used last season, he's probably a bargain.
No, I think so. I love him in that offense. I think he's going to flourish. And like you said about Fitzpatrick, man, I love Fitzpatrick. All right, I have him. I got him 2 years ago in a 16-team Superflex, which quarterbacks are like goal for a 4th-round pick, and he has not retired. And it's one of those things with my league mates. I'm like, hey, I got my boy Fitzmagic coming back, and I won. I've won now a year, and then I lost last year in the finals. I'm like, hey, I'm still close. Like, I'm still hanging around with my boy Fitzpatrick.
My brand in my home leagues, I have 3 home leagues that I play in redraft, and my official brand there is Den of Iniquity, and I use the Fitz as my Avi with all his gold chains and his beard and his shirt open up to his belly button. Pimping
I love it. No, and he's a good option. I think in that offense they're going to be really good. I love what they're building there with Gibson and McKittis, all those guys. They're doing really well. And for example, I think I might actually try this deal right now. I just saw it. So Curtis Samuel went for Michael Gallup in the 3rd-round pick. I actually really like that for Samuel. I love Gallup.
I like that too. I like that. That's a good trade. I like Gallup too, by the way, and getting that third round pick along with him makes it worth it if you're moving Samuel. But that's not an overpay by any means, I think, for Curtis.
No, and then he also went for Gabriel Davis in a third round pick. And as much as I like Gabriel Davis and I like him in that offense, I don't hate that deal either. I like Curtis Samuel.
No, that's not a bad deal either. I want the Curtis Samuel side of that one, by the way.
Yeah. So he's a buy. I think that he's actually. I don't think his value has exceeded kind of what some people have said it has. I think it's actually pretty good. If you can get Curtis Samuel, this was one of my good sneaky fantasy buys and deals that we saw. It kills me that Washington's getting so damn good, though. It really scares. They are going to be good. Like, their defense is good. They have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. Their offense could be top notch. The only thing that's going to hold them back maybe is Fitz will throw them out of games. That's the only thing that I think could hold them back.
He'll intercept them out of the end of games. Yeah, it's very possible. He takes way too many chances sometimes. So, I mean, I love him for it. It's fun to watch, but I cheer for the only team he hasn't played on. And I was actually hoping they'd sign him this offseason, by the way, as well. So.
I'm sure you were. We're about that. We're close to your Patriots. I promise. We're getting there. I made a whole slide for you. You're going to see it. But before we get to your Patriots, we got Carson. Chris Carson, 2-year, $10 million deal. A lot of people thought he was going to be on the move. I heard all kinds of different landing spots for him. Overall thoughts on this? I mean, I feel like he's a solid running back 2 option in that offense.
As long as he's walking, he's a solid play. And he seems to be like one of the most underrated guys in fantasy. Like, people seem so down on him all the time. Like, he just seems undervalued to me every year. I mean, he's getting up there in years and wear and tear, but he produces both running and catching, and nobody seems to be able to beat him out of the starting role there. I like him. I like that signing by the Seahawks because they obviously know he fits what they do exceptionally well. I like it. I like what they did.
And to be fair, when he's healthy, he averaged 16.2 points per game in fantasy last year. So he did miss 4 games, but he still finishes running back 17, I believe. Yeah, running back 17. So he's still a solid running back 2 option.
How many top running backs haven't missed a game for the 2020 season? Somebody had this as a question on Twitter. There was one answer. Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Everybody else missed at least a game. So
Derrick Henry's just
he's like Chris Carson, so to another Chris Carson.
I can't even do one push-up. That dude's out here doing push-ups on push-ups with chains wrapped around him and a medicine ball, and I'm over here like, I can't get in with this fantasy fit thing because I can't even do a damn push-up. But no, again, and I know that Undroppables hate Rashad Penny. So do I even want to ask you about Rashad Penny, or should I even like?
It's funny you say that, right? And I know another group that loves him, and that probably sparked a lot of animosity between people. So I'm not a Penny guy myself as well, and it's so maybe that's why I fit in with the Undroppables so well, right? I was very anti Penny, but I just don't see him overtaking Carson. No matter what. I don't care how healthy Penny is. He would need everybody else hurt to get a chance to be the man there. He's done nothing to prove he can own that.
Yeah, and essentially Carson's going for a 2nd-round pick right now. Like that's
I bought him at that price. I think he's worth it.
Yeah. So
he's top line running back too. I mean, who's wow.
Yeah. I mean, he finished around, Nyheim Hines had a weird year. But, if he was healthy, Carson could have finished in that running back 11, 12 weight range where like Gibson and Mike Davis kind of finished. I really feel like he could have finished there and he had it. But if you're rebuilding, I would try to give him a little bit more in the second. But if you're looking, hey, can I kind of get into this and get him for a second and have a solid running back 2 option out there? I really like that. I like that deal for you, whoever did that.
If you're competing or you think you're going to have a contending team and it's going to cost you a 2nd-round pick to add Chris Carson this year, I would say do it.
Yeah. Especially when they want to run the ball now, although they keep saying that. They stopped letting Russ cook, and he's on all my teams, damn it. But you look at all these different groups and having his there. So
The only time the Seahawks don't run the ball is when the game is on the line and they're on the 3-yard line.
Oh, no, look at that Patriots day. Hey, this is a perfect segue. Perfect segue. See, Michael knows what he's doing. He knows his business well. So I couldn't make a graphic with players because they signed so many damn players in the first day. But we have Juju Smith, 4-year, $50 million. Hunter Henry, 3-year, $37 million. Cam Newton, 1-year, $5 million. Nelson Aguilar, 2-year, $22 million. James White, my guy, James White, 1-year, $2.5 million. You signed a lot of guys here, and I'm gonna let this I'll let you go. You're my man with the Patriots.
When we were pre-gaming, I was mentioning how much I loved all the Patriots signings. They filled a bunch of holes. I was kind of hoping Juju was one of the guys I was hoping to get at wide receiver. They cheaped out a little bit there, but they got guys that fit what their quarterback does. So getting Jonnu was amazing. My phone lit up on that Monday, right? With all my friends. Oh my God, they got Jonnu. I didn't think that was happening. And then the next day when they signed Henry, my phone, I think it almost lit itself on fire with friends texting me about, oh, I can't believe this. But it looks like Bill was one of the things people don't seem to understand in the Boston sports media is that he's committed to Cam. There's no way he's not with those signings. Even the wide receiver signings of Bourne and Aguilar pretty much fit more what Cam does than if they plug somebody else in there. So, with White signed, you're going to see short passes because Cam can't throw past 15 yards, and a lot of blockers out there on the field. So when Cam runs the ball, but I liked what they did because they're showing a commitment to competing for fantasy purposes. Yeah, I mean, sorry, I don't want any of these guys.
Yeah,
I'll pass on all of them.
I got a little traction because I said when you have Juju Smith and Hunter Henry on your same dynasty team, I do, and that hurt my soul because I was waiting for Hunter Henry to get signed somewhere else and I could trade him, and now I'm stuck with both of them. I do think Smith holds a little bit more value just because I think they will use him. I think Josh McDaniels is one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL. And I think they're going to be able to scheme well for him. And I do think Smith will get some red zone opportunities. So I do like Smith, but not as much as I liked him if you would have been somewhere else.
Yeah, I love the players for real football.
Yeah.
I mean, the beauty for me is in my home leagues I play in, the redraft leagues, those guys are all homers. They're all going to pick all these guys, which means I'll get better options in the same round.
What is your expectations for Cam? So our guy, I love my guy, AWL Sabermatics, my guy. He said Cam's the guy you want. Do you think he has an upside at that quarterback and for fantasy purposes? The rushing upside's there, right?
So I do, right? So I love the Konami code type players, right, where they have the rushing upside and the passing ability. And Cam has proven he's not throwing a lot of deep balls, that his shoulder's probably just not what it was when 4 or 5 years ago. And that's okay. Cam was playing really well before he got COVID.
Yeah.
And what people get mad around here in the Northeast, and they start talking about how it's an excuse, but I can tell you some of the Celtics also had COVID, and then they crapped the bed for 5 straight weeks too. And that's exactly what Cam did. And I know people who have had COVID and didn't have bad cases, but one of my friends said I couldn't walk up the stairs at work without breathing heavy after having it, where before I'd just run right up. And it took him about a month to get back to normal. So I think COVID really did affect Cam. I think you're going to see him play like Cam, minus a lot of deep balls, right? So it wasn't like he was great at throwing them anyways. They weren't always very accurate, but he could throw it like 80 yards in the air. They gave him these weapons for the short passing game for a reason, right? Jonnu's going to be a run after the catch guy, keeping James White, adding Henry, and as I mentioned, Bourne and Aguilar. They're looking at Cam as the guy. I would say, if Cam's out there and you're like in a super flex league, I would make sure he was rostered. because I know lots of places people cut him because he wasn't good. I would have him rostered. I would plan on him being very usable this year as well.
No, I'd like you. So, put it in perspective, before he got COVID, he was QB7 in 3 weeks. And he put up points per game 25, 35, and 12. So, he did put up some numbers, and then he kind of regressed. We know that. There was some numbers, though. I mean, even against, New York Jets, but I know they were terrible. He had 24 fantasy points. Buffalo, he had 18. So, I do think there's some value with Cam. Now, he went straight up for Jared Goff in a Superflex league. Who would you rather have, Cam or Jared Goff? I wouldn't want either, just to be clear. But if you had to pick one, I think I'd kind of. I don't want to
probably take Cam over Goff right now. I'm not a Goff hater like a lot of people. I was a little disappointed in Goff's usage last year. They had games where he threw like 300 yards and had 0 touchdowns because they ran the ball in every time, and those happened to be weeks I had him in a DFS lineup, by the way, and he killed me.
Yeah.
But what does he have for weapons right now with the Lions, right? Galladay's gone. The wide receivers, they're
He's got Hawk. That's
yeah. Like I would take Cam this season with his running ability over Goff with ease. And long term, I'm not sure you want either one of them anyways. So I'd only be thinking short term.
Yeah, this is a stopgap, and it's just like, hey, especially with the way the QB landscape's going, it's gonna get blown up here in the next couple of years. We're gonna see new quarterbacks coming in because there's so many older, aging quarterbacks that are kind of getting aged out. I mean, Andy Dalton's found a role somehow in every damn team in the NFL. But he actually did get traded. Our guy John Bauer from everywhere, Dynasty Theory, all this. He actually was in a league. I saw he traded Andy Dalton and Preston Williams for Cam Newton. I thought that was a fantastic deal because
I'm not at all.
I don't believe in either of those two guys, Andy Dalton or Preston Williams.
well, I had I'm not known for having like heated debates and getting into it with people on Twitter, but I did over Andy Dalton last year where the whole Twitterverse was like, "Oh my God, Andy Dalton's a top 10 QB." And I was like, "No, he's not. Stop this."
Yeah.
He is not Dak Prescott. He is not. He might have some games where he produces that way, but I was just like, oh, come on, man. This isn't fair to anyone. No, it's not.
If you have Andy Dalton on your rosters right now, you need to trade him now because trust me, as a Cowboy fan, I watched him play every game last year. I didn't want him in the first place. He is not good. He is not a good quarterback. There's nothing to like about his game. It just stop it. Everybody out there needs to stop it with Andy Dalton. I'm done with it. He just makes me sad because we had such a good team last year. If Dak would have stayed healthy offensively, especially for fantasy purposes, that would have just been an amazing kind of team.
Oh, I know. He was one of my guys I targeted in drafts was Dak. I really like Dak.
I don't want to tell you how many second-round picks I had to give up because I have Dak everywhere, and I had to get Andy Dalton in Superflex League, and I had to give up a second. So I'm
so sorry.
It's depressing. It's just a depressing one right here.
I'm so sorry. But anybody betting on Dalton, right, because he signed with the Bears, and they think this is the greatest thing ever. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. You might have been happier with Trubisky again. That's all.
I said that. I have a lot of Bears fans that are like, hey, bro, I would have rather had Trubisky. I don't know about you guys. I think he's more athletic. Yeah. All right, let's move on because I'm getting depressed. All right, Aaron Jones. Okay, Aaron Jones signed a 4-year, $48 million contract with Green Bay. He shocked all A.J. Dillon truthers out there. Oh, my God. I thought A.J. Dillon was going to be running back one. What are your thoughts on this?
I love his talent, right? I love him as a player. I think he's incredible. There's people out there who think I hate him because I'm like, I won't draft him. What do you mean? Well, the problem is not they, but Rodgers likes to throw the ball on the goal line so he can rack up TD numbers and win MVPs. And yes, I don't like Rodgers. I like him as a fantasy player, but as regular football, I don't like him very much. I was hoping he would sign somewhere where he would get to touch the rock 20 times every game, 15 to 20 times every game.
Yeah.
I feel Aaron Jones is a tremendous talent, like one of the best running backs in the league, but he's so up and down because some games they utilize him real heavily and other games they don't use him much at all.
Yeah.
But with Williams leaving, I think that helps him some. The Dillon truthers will have something else to say about that, but I think that helps Jones out more than anybody else on the roster, and I'd be buying him right now.
Yeah, in 13 games last year, he averaged 18.5 points. He's running back 5. Again, he's got to stay healthy. But these like every day. All the guys besides Derrick Henry are in that category. As far as Jones's value is weird. You really can't really sell him for much, because guys like us are like, he's there, but he's not gonna get the touches. So you might have to trade down a little bit. He did get traded for a combination of things: a first-round pick and Joe Mixon. Where are you a Joe Mixon truther like me or no? Where are you at on my Joe Mixon stand?
You really don't read enough of my tweets if you think I would ever be a Joe Mixon guy. I literally post #NeverMixon, just that sometimes.
Well, maybe I just blocked that. I muted that word, so that's why I don't see any of your stuff, because that hurts my soul here. Okay, Mixon, come on, be on the train.
So I've had bonding moments with the Ball Blast girls over this stuff because we're all never Mixon. Why would you go Mixon?
That hurts.
It's not Joe Mixon though. It's not that he's not good. This is what people think. Yeah. I think he sucks. No, it's not that he's bad or he's not a good talent. It's the Bengals. It is literally just the Bengals. I keep hearing Joe Mixon, and I know he's had runs of 6 to 8 games in a row where he was actually producing.
Yeah,
and then he vanishes again for a stretch because they only give him the ball 5 or 6 times a game. So it's not that he's not talented. I don't trust them. I just don't trust that team with him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I came into last year. I wrote a big article. They switched their offensive scheme. They did a little bit more zone scheme. I thought they'd give him the ball. That offensive line was terrible. It was a lot worse than I thought. And I hate Zach Taylor. I'm done with his play calling. It just drove me crazy because he actually is a very good pass catching back, but he doesn't get targets. I mean, it just was insane to me. There
you go.
And I get it. I know.
And every once in a while the stars really align, and you can see, this is going to be a Joe Mixon game, right? Because you know who they're playing, and you're like, this is going to be the game, and you plug them in somewhere if in a DFS lineup for me, or the Mixon truther gets all excited because he has 4 touchdowns and 170 yards combined, and then I'm like, there's your game. I hope you liked it because this won't happen.
I know. Yeah, so I would probably keep Jones, to be honest, unless you're rebuilding. But if I'm trading Jones, I'm looking for one of those running backs from last year: Swift, Akers, even Gibson, and in a pick or something. Because mix
all 3 of those guys too. Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah, that would be what I would target.
And long term, I would probably want all 3 of those guys over Jones, to be honest. I like the upside on all of them. Akers, huge Akers truther. So
and I think Gibson is a good value point. You might not be able to get Akers in a first, but Gibson, you could maybe get Gibson in a second or something very in the middle there.
I swear to God, I think some people think I don't like Gibby. And I'm like, well, why do you think that? Oh, you're not that high on him. No, I'm very high on him. I wasn't high on his offense last year. It didn't have that much to do with him. He was competing for some touches, and the offense was meh. And we didn't know when he was going to get to start playing. I'm pretty high on him going into this next season, though. Yeah. He's works hard, good player. I like those things combined.
And to be fair, I love the Alex Smith story. He had one leg out there. He was very limited as a player, guys. There was only so much he could do.
It was a great story.
Yeah.
They should probably make a movie about this guy. Did he sign anywhere yet as a backup?
I believe he's still out there now. So
yeah, they keep talking about him coming to New England, and I'm like, hey.
I have a great story, but in terms of Gibson and all that, now to kind of
that hurt Gibson tremendously.
It did, because the teams just stacked the box and said, all right, here we go. And that's why McKissick got all those targets, because they needed to throw it out. And then Gibson had that turf toe. Now, what I would say too about Jones really quick, are you buying AJ Dillon at all? He's not cheap. So if you think you can buy him cheap right now, he's not.
So on my dynasty teams,
yeah,
in I should say my dynasty leagues, The person who already owns Dillon because he drafted Dillon is me. I drafted Dillon. And I mean, I'm a Boston guy, right? So he came out of BC.
Yes.
He's a house. The guy's a load. And I thought that eventually Aaron Jones would leave, and he didn't, and that Dillon would be the guy for at least a season or so, but he's not. It's not. I didn't do it because I was like some huge truther in his talent. I just like the situation. I like the situation a lot. It's still not bad because with Williams gone, I mean, he should get some time because they proved they don't want to commit full-time to a back and they want to do a committee. So we'll see what he has. I mean, if he produces, all the diehard truthers will be happy. Since I have him rostered, I'll be happy as well. I'm just not a huge believer. That's all.
No, that's fair. I mean, I just think I personally, what I'm seeing is people bought him way too high. So they're not.
They went nuts. They went nuts.
So they're not selling him low. So you're going to have to buy, and it's just not worth it right now unless you really, truly believe in him. And I'm not going that. That's how you lose leagues, and that's just not good there. Now, another signing that had a lot of fantasy implications a little bit and pissed a lot of people off out there is my Kenyan Drake truthers out there and maybe my Josh Jacobs guys. Drake went 2 years, $11 million. Was this the most surprising signing of the free agency too?
I was dumbfounded by it, right?
Yeah.
So I like Josh Jacobs. I think he's a very good back. I actually really like Kenyan Drake, by the way, and I think he's a very good back as well. I'm just wondering if they just want to go with a running back by committee there. They were trying to do it to Jacobs quite a few games last year. But the other half of the committee was just so bad that, it ended up being all Jacobs anyways. So it looks like that's the goal. They keep, what are they saying? They're going to make Drake play wide receiver. They didn't pay any attention to his receiving stats from last year. If that's the case, right? But I think Drake's pretty talented. I do. I really like Jacobs. If I was going to own a back on that team, it would be Jacobs. I wouldn't want to roster Drake over Jacobs. I wouldn't be buying Drake right now either. I just like people getting overly excited about this as if it's I don't think it was a good situation for Drake to go into. We'll see. Maybe we're wrong, but
I just think it says more about Drake as like, hey, you couldn't get a starting job probably somewhere else. They gave you $11 million. I've never been a Drake guy. I felt like his value is too high last year. He was going too high.
It was way too high last year.
Yeah, and people were drafting him as low end running back one, end of the first, beginning of the second. That just, to me, that was way. But I do think Jacobs is there. But can you explain to me how someone makes $100 million in a coaching contract and is just a terrible play caller and doesn't get called out ever? He gave Devontae Booker the ball at the goal line 3 straight times and got stuffed last year, and Jacobs was just sitting on the sideline. I just don't understand it.
When was the last time he was a very successful coach in the NFL?
Yeah, early 2000s.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's trying to play the game like it was played 20 years ago, and it's not played that way anymore. And I mean, he'll do okay, I guess. Who I really like this deal for is Chase Edmonds, by the way, in Arizona.
Yeah. No. Do you think they address it in the draft though, or are you worried about that at all?
They might, but Edmonds looked really good last year when he was playing. In the games, I mean, Drake I think was hurt all year too. But when Drake was out, Edmonds looked good, and he carried things well. And on that team, producing in the passing game is big for a running back, and he excelled at it. So as much as I hate Drake, I'd probably buy Edmonds, and the price might not be that high for Edmonds right now because no one's talking about him except for us on this podcast. I have seen shit on Twitter about Chase Edmonds since this deal happened.
And I think people are just assuming they're going to address it in the draft. They got a lot of needs. So they might get –
Yes, they do.
The draft capital thing might hurt because they might get someone in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round, but they got to really go after some needs, especially the defensive side. They struggle. I could see them even filling their cornerbacks, especially their first-round pick.
So that's where I think they would go because if their offense is pretty stacked, right? So if they beef up their defense, they were a pretty good team last year, and not that I think J.J. Watt's J.J. Watt of 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But he helps the defense. And I think they're going to go cornerback, by the way, in the draft. And if they do that, that team's going to be good. Like that should be a very good team. And I don't know if they'll go running back early in the draft. Like they'll probably draft one, but I don't see them getting a threat.
Yeah, and someone who does Debbie and who knows these running backs really well, if they're not getting a guy in the first 3 rounds, I'm really kind of staying away from it. If they got Gainwell, though, maybe in the 3rd, that would be the one guy because I love Kenneth Gainwell. I know some guys don't. Maybe that would be like that, but I think Chase Edmonds still has value because they're going to start him. And he's basically going for a 2nd-round pick, late 2nd. So not
late
bad.
2nd is good for a starting running back who might have the backfield predominantly to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and
bargain.
And he recently went for Devontae Parker straight up.
That's a bargain. I would acquire.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And as far as that, Jacobs might be a good guy to he's got some issues. He had the DUI. He's got there, but you could still buy him. I know our guy. I know that Tommy. He loves Jacobs. He started yelling at me, and I wasn't even saying anything about Jacobs. I was just saying that.
You can't badmouth the Raiders. You have no idea what
I know
it is for Tommy.
I know. I understand. But, regardless. So there is that. So when we're talking about I would probably go buy Jacobs and go there. There's a few more deals we're going to get into. This guy kind of came back. He got paid. Corey Davis, 3-year, $37.5 million for the New York Jets. And the Jets seem to be on the team on the up. I can't believe I just said that out of my mouth. I think I puked a little bit right there.
I had to put my hand so it wouldn't shoot out.
I feel like they're on their house. They're still owned by the same Johnsons, but they seem like they got Robert Saleh. They got some good kind of coaching staffs. LaFleur's there. It seems like they're going to go after. I hope they draft Justin Fields and not Zach Wilson. But what do you think, Corey?
I'm a little bit older than you.
Yeah.
I've seen this with the Jets before. Okay. I have friends who are Jets fans, and they're the best fans in the world because they root for that team that sucks year in and year out. I mean, I'm happy for Corey. He's getting paid.
Yeah.
Everything else about the situation, hey, I'm avoiding that. I want nothing to do with rostering him. He's the wide receiver 1 on that team. Yeah. We've heard how he's going to break out in Tennessee for years. He has flashes here and there. I mean, I don't know. If Devontae Parker's it up a bit, maybe he'll have a great season. I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, everybody was talking about last year like he had this breakout year. He still finished as wide receiver 32. I could still find a better wide receiver 30 in that area than trying to go with him. I think Denzel Mims is going to take some of his targets. I think they're going to address the position in the draft as well. They're going to run the ball a little bit more. I'm not a big Corey Davis guy. I don't want to be a hater, but I don't feel like he's a buy for me.
I'll hate for you then. I'll hate it for you. Okay.
Well,
no, stay away. Don't get him. No.
This is why I have Patriots fans talk about the Jets. I know the Jets are not the loveliest ones. But
it's so the thing about being a Patriots fan is you have to understand, as I said, I'm older than you, right? So I remember when they sucked. The Patriots were horrible. And since they've been good, like lots of people like, you're our biggest rival. And I'm like, no, to be a rival, you actually have to win some games. Like, no, he's not a rival. Sorry, Colts fans. Sorry, Jets fans. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have to beat them, and then we'll be rivals. Like, no. So the Jets, I mean, I honestly feel bad for my friends who are Jets fans because, their loyalty is tremendous, but, man.
I feel bad for him. One of my guys, John June, he's a big Jets guy, but he's not a big fan of Corey Davis either. So I probably stay away from him. We're going to go through a couple more deals. This one was one of my favorites. I don't know what you think about this, but it's Gerald Everett to Seattle. Now, not that I think Gerald Everett can be a tight end 1, so just stop it out there. Don't yell at me, but I love this spot for him.
I like the spot for him as well. Wilson spreads the ball around excellent in Seattle. So, there will be some down games because he spreads the ball around so well. Mm-hmm. They also just signed Lockett, right? They locked him up for 4 years. So they're looking good on offense. Everett's talented. Everett's actually much better than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
So, I like this too. If you have him in Dynasty, I mean, you probably already have some other tight end as well, right?
Yeah.
So you could, I don't know what you could move him for. I'm sure you'll tell me.
You went straight up for David Montgomery. That's going to hurt some undroppable people out there. I don't know. It must have been a tight end. That must have been a tight end premium league. What? It was tight end premium.
It had to be TE premium.
Yeah.
I can understand that. He's going to be the starting tight end there. That's not a bad deal.
And Henry Ruggs. He went straight up for Henry Ruggs. That's
a better deal right there.
I actually don't hate that because Henry Ruggs is – we just talked about John Gruden's play calling. I do think he's not as bad as he says, but I just don't trust him in that offense.
They barely utilized Ruggs last year. So
yeah.
What do you think this does for Tyler Higbee?
Yeah, I know literally people were getting fights on this shit last year. They were going after the Higbee Everett thing. I think Higbee's fine. I think he can finish as he's in that probably 12 to 18 range for me.
Where he finished last year, right?
Yeah. I don't see a big up. And the Stafford thing they have the same offense that they had with Goff 2 years ago. I know Everett was there, but I don't see it a big increase for him. I love it for Kupp and Woods, but I don't really see Higbee being anything different. Do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think people thought he was special because he had that record-breaking streak, and then he came out and proved to us that he's just another guy, right? Yeah. Everett is somebody last year actually I was acquiring in the preseason because everybody was down on him. And I was like, oh, he's coming back from an injury in an offense that likes to throw the ball. I'll acquire it because it's cheap.
Yeah.
So I would stay on the acquire Everett bus this preseason as well, by the way.
I would too. I just keep him there. He's a good backup to have on your roster. If he's your tight end one, you probably shouldn't be playing fantasy anyway. So he should be like your 2 or 3 in that range and having there. A couple more. Will Fuller, 1 year, $10 million in Miami. Our guy Will, who can never stay healthy unless he's on PEDs. Is this a big buy for you? So he's in Miami now. So hey, you know what?
I like it. By the way, I think that was a great signing for Miami.
It was a good signing for Miami. I think also for him, he can get PEDs that can't get traced. Miami's the best spot for that, just as A-Rod. So you're looking at these guys here. He went for Tyler Lockett and the 210. Would you do that, or would you keep Tyler Lockett?
I would probably keep Lockett in that situation. That's a lot for a guy going to a team with a quarterback who's fairly unproven. That's a lot. And I mean, Devontae Parker's still there. They have good weapons. Preston Williams is still there too.
Yeah.
So they have some good weapons in the offense. I don't know if I trust them as much with Fitzy gone and Tua throwing the ball, but they have good weapons.
And they're going to upgrade in the draft.
Yeah, I would hope.
They're going to get somebody. Hopefully Chase. Actually, I want Chase to go somewhere with a better quarterback, but I would imagine Pitts, Chase in that category. Waddle's going to be in that category. So I like Will, but again, I'm not going to – if I could sell him for that, get Lockett maybe a second.
I think people are so excited about this because he was producing so well last season that you can probably make out in the deal if you're getting rid of him. Like I think he's a good sell candidate for the value.
No, I agree. I think with Lockett, 210, shoot, I'll take that. Now let's go to the Houston Texans have had
I'd rather have Lockett straight up over Fuller.
Yeah. So would I. No,
not even close for me.
Yeah, that's a value, and you grab him now. I don't know if you can get that in some leagues. We're gonna go to Houston. They've had a weird offseason. I think Mike can attest to that. They signed Phillip Lindsay. I'm kind of a Lindsay truther. We won't talk about Deshaun Watson's massages right now because it was a whole bad area. I don't even know what the hell to even touch on that. Are you buying any of these?
He would have showed you. He would have showed you what to touch.
Oh man, yes. It's a weird thing. I don't even.
You walked into that one.
I did. I walked right into that. Are you buying any of the running backs in Houston, like at all?
Absolutely not. There's not a chance. And last year, I would have told you to buy Johnson, right? I would have said buy him. Why? Because the value was there, right? Like he's going to get 20 touches a game. And even though he will be the least efficient running back and do less with more than anybody else in the league, there's just the volume so high that it was worth it for the price. But now, I mean, God. The only running back I would want there is probably Lindsey, and I don't want him either right now. So
I really wish Lindsey would have went somewhere else. I was hoping he could have went, I don't know, Miami, some other maybe place where they could use him a little bit better.
So, what's going on with this Texans front office, though? Are they sitting there and asking themselves, what's the worst move we can make for this offense? And then that's what they do?
Yeah.
Because that's what it seems like to me. Like, why even sign Lindsey? This made no sense.
Yeah, it didn't really. I mean, the only positive thing I would say for Lindsey, maybe he'll get a lot of volume because Johnson's not going to stay healthy. Maybe he'll get the carries. But if you got Tyrod Taylor out there and who playing, wide receiver, that might be one of the worst offenses we've seen in a long time. Would you imagine? Would you say that it could be one of the worst offenses we've seen in a long time?
I think they will be the worst offense we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And the guy that they trusted to make football decisions is just, it's like, really?
Yeah.
What is wrong? What the hell is wrong with you, ownership? I mean, I would not be paying to go watch them play. Let's put it that way.
Hey, Bill O'Brien is your old necky ground. You're not a big Bill O'Brien guy from the Patriots?
As a coach, Bill O'Brien's a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
But he's not making the football decisions right now.
What?
Right?
So you're a Patriots guy.
Patriots employee is, and he's horrible.
So you're a Patriots guy. So I want to. Why do coaches? It seems like every coach from there. Charlie Weiss, he made a career out of getting good jobs, getting a bunch of money, and then getting fired. Kansas, Florida, Notre Dame. Romeo Cornell's all right.
Romeo was a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
head coach is not a good head coach.
It seems like everybody. Brian Flores seems like he may be the best one. We'll see how this kind of works out. What is it? I read the whole Belichick book. I actually read that whole damn thing because I've been fascinated by Belichick. I love the coaching and ideas of it. It just seems like no one's going to be able to replicate what he does because he's just literally one of a kind. Would you agree with that?
I say he's one of a kind. He understands some things that you see people do at the top of whatever their profession is.
Yeah.
I actually try to emulate this myself because guys I idolize are this way. Bill outworks everybody. So, and he looks at things other people don't look at.
Yeah.
But so when people think just because somebody was a coach there, they're going to go do just as well. I know they're taking the gamble on the success the Patriots had with this guy because he comes out of that organization. But that doesn't mean he's going to do anything for you when he comes out of that organization. And, a lot of them are going into crappy situations on top of it, right?
Yeah.
So you've never been a head coach and your first job as a head coach is this really bad situation. And then, some of them, they got the reins of personnel decisions too, like McDaniels did when he was in Denver, and he shouldn't have had that. He wasn't ready for that.
I'm a firm believer in any sport. No coach should have double duties. It just doesn't make sense because they're always looking at it. Because as a coach, I coach. I'm looking at it from, I don't want to say selfish point of view, but I'm trying to get players that I want to coach and win. And I'm win now always because that's just who I am. You can't be like that at these big levels because you just make mistakes. And that's what Bill O'Brien did. He didn't like DeAndre Hopkins. So he got rid of him for peanuts. And that literally caused everything to kind of fold.
Was one of the craziest moves ever.
Yeah.
It worked out great for Arizona. I mean,
yeah.
They're very happy.
And my Kyler Murray shares. If we're going to go through it really quick, but I'm going to mention some, and you just, you tell me good, bad. T.Y. Hilton came back. Are you good? It can be quick, bad. All right. Tevin really Coleman. Are you on the Tevin Coleman train, Mike, or no?
Absolutely not. I'm out.
What about Mike Davis? Mike Davis, 2-year $5 to Atlanta.
They're gonna draft somebody.
Yeah, I would assume that too. Sammy Watkins, he went to the Ravens. We don't need to talk about him. Demarcus Robinson came back. I'm sad to say
that was the best the Chiefs could do.
Yeah, but for Demarcus Robinson owners like myself, which is sad to say out loud, I actually have had to play him a couple games because I've had injuries. He's not a bad fill-in. Yeah.
No, he's not a bad fill-in. I don't hate him, by the way.
Yeah.
Talent-wise, he's pretty good. He's fast. They like fast players. I'm not down on him. So
he fits, and he's better than McCole freaking Hardman. So he's better than that guy.
McCole Hardman, poor guy.
I will never get over the fact that I did a poll last year, 3 games into the season before Justin Jefferson took off. I said, who would you rather have in Dynasty? And McCole Hardman or Justin Jefferson. And McCole Hardman got 34% of the vote. So
because of offense, but they're not looking at role in that offense. Yeah,
that just goes to show you what you need to know about fantasy Twitter. Leonard Fournette came back to Tampa Bay. That's a little bit bigger if I guess you're a Rojo guy. Are you a Rojo? Are you Team Rojo, Team Fournette, or Team Vaughn? Are you Team Vaughn out there?
They're not a Team Vaughn. I really actually like Rojo and Fournette.
Yeah,
they're utilizing them both pretty well, but that kills them both for fantasy purposes if you're looking for week in and week out performance. It's better for their real football team to have both guys, but it sucks for fantasy, you know.
Bruce Arians is like Belichick with running backs. I don't trust him because he mixes and plays those matchups, which is 100% what you're supposed to do. But from a perspective of fantasy, I hate it. I do have Rojo. I think Rojo is talented, but Rojo's an idiot. He fumbles the ball. He makes bad mistakes. He misses, and he can't pass block, guys. He struggles, and so as a coach,
he's got some space, you know.
Yeah, he's got the space there. I think Fournette would play a role. They're going to eat into each other a little bit. I still would rather have Rojo, but I get it from that. There's some remaining free agents. They're pretty out there. You know, do you think James Conner?
The Falcons, you want to play Rojo. That's all I can say. Every time they play the Falcons, that guy explodes.
He hates the Falcons, and the Falcons defense has been bad. Are you buying any James Conner love out there, or are you done with James Conner? Do you think he can find a spot, or Antonio Brown, either one of those guys?
I would not be surprised if Brown signs back with the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
Brady and him have wanted to play together forever. I bet he signs there again and for short money just to take a shot at another ring just because. And, he gets to live with Tom and Giselle if he wants to for a little while.
That's the weirdest thing, right? That's just
those
weird.
Two guys you just don't expect to hang out, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, so Tom, how do you feel when he walks out there with a face cloth only in front of Giselle?
Yeah. Making breakfast just naked, and you're just like, oh, hey, Antonio, what are you doing here?
It's very weird, very weird. But that has to do with Tom wanting to win and knowing Brown's talented. That's all that's about. That's more of a business relationship, I bet. Yeah. I would assume he's going to sign there. If he signs anywhere else, I'd be surprised. He's playing, though. Yeah. He's going to play this year. James Conner, man. He was such a good story, and he looked so good. And I won't lie, I was not buying last year all in preseason because the price was so high. Fantasy Twitter, he was a darling last preseason. He's going to have to sign as a backup somewhere. I don't know where he's going to land, though.
Yeah, he's whatever to me. I like him as a guy. He has a great story, like you talked about, but. Antonio Brown, he has some value, but I will say someone offered me Antonio Brown for my first round pick this year. You can kiss my ass if you're in my league listening to this, because I don't know who you think I am today. I don't know what kind of trade that was, but he does not have
made an offer to you like that?
Yeah, oh yeah. But he added a third. He thought the third was like going to sway me, I think that's kind of – yeah, I'll send it to you after this because I sent it to my group. I'm like, hey, do you think I don't understand where you think Antonio Brown's value is, but it's definitely not a first.
There's somebody like that in every league, though. I think that where, well, this guy was the best receiver in football. Yeah, keyword was.
Yeah. No, you just don't make those leagues. If you're listening, those trades. Please don't make those trades out there, guys. Like, it just makes me mad. Like, when I see it, or don't be the guy that makes a trade offer and then tells me in 2 paragraphs why it makes my team better when it doesn't make my team better. But I appreciate you trying to sell it to me. The guy trying to say, I'm really high on him. I'm so high on this guy. My question is always, then why are you trying to trade him to me? Yeah. You're so high, but yeah, I want him off my roster. But anyway, hey, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on today and going through this stuff with you. I wanted to have you on for a while, and I really respect your work. Why don't you plug anything you want? I know the Undroppables, they have great guys. And you know what I love about the Undroppable guys is that they're brash, they tell you like it is, and they're smart, and they get it. And so that's why I always really respect their work and the work that they do. But I know you have the draft sheet coming out. I know you're more of a DFS guy, but just anything you want to plug, it's all yours.
So I will have a podcast coming out in the summer. So I don't even have a name for it yet, but it's in the works. Follow me at Mike Reedy FF on Twitter. Make sure you read Money Breakers and Heartbreakers all season long. I put a lot of time into that. That's something we were talking about before the show. And over at the Undroppables, we have a lot of rookie and draft content that's coming out now as well that you might want to look into. Like a lot of time put into the stuff that's coming there for the draft and the rookies. I'm super amped about the draft, by the way. I can't wait to see where some of these guys land so I can really start prepping for the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they have the watch show, that is the number one. You got to watch these guys because I cannot wait to see the reactions when things are going down and everybody getting upset, especially Tommy. Tommy has I want to see it. Dukes, all those guys. Adam.
You just want to see Tommy every time the Raiders have a pick and it's someone he doesn't want them to draft.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like Tommy's your typical Raider fan. I grew up I'm from California. I live in California. I know all my Raider fans out here. Tommy is that guy.
Right there, yeah.
That's right. Season tickets, Fresno State over here. Yep. So that's where we're going. So, all right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on, Mike. I really do.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. It was a great time, man. Yep. Anytime you want to have me on, you let me know.
Oh, for sure. Everybody out there, remember, rate, subscribe, get the YouTube channel, give us a sub. We appreciate you guys.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to hammercast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.